There's no doubt in my mind that you're aware of how problematic the uranium mining industry is. I'd like to remind you to uphold your ancestral treaty responsibility, because we are all treaty people, to respect the people of this land and your treaty commitments to protect the integrity of the territories as well. One thing I was taught was that when we made treaty with your ancestors, we took you in as family and we gave you responsibilities for you to have access to living on this territory. Your people agreed. The responsibility was at all times to ensure the destruction of the territory did not occur. Your treaty right to be here depends on that responsibility, and you are not upholding it. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to ask questions? Anybody? Well, Monsieur Hervé?
Well, just there has been some question asked about Matoush, and maybe the staff could answer those questions.
I won't spend a lot of time on Matoush. This is not a topic of discussion, but just a quick reply, please.
The Matoush was, terms general for the record, the hearing was conducted for Matoush, and it was in order to assess safety, and that was the mandate of the Commission. So the hearing was focused on the mandate of the Commission itself, and as in any other facilities or mines, there's always the interconnectivity with the provincial role with respect to a decision. So we spoke before about joint review panels with respect to environmental assessment, and in political decision was made in Quebec with respect to the Matoush and the way forward with respect to that project. So again, regulatory processes at the federal and provincial level took place and decisions were rendered. The decision of the Commission is based on the safety of the operations of the facility.
For somebody who showed a great interest in uranium, did you read the decision? It's posted on our website in all its glory, with all its detail, with all the interveners. You feel free to actually read it anytime.
Okay, I'll go back and I'll read through that.
That'll be good.
Can you speak though specifically about the complexities? Like I'm asking you a
No, I
question.
do not want to speak about the
As a
complexity.
president, you can't speak about the complexities involved in
we
the
have enough problem
jurisdictional.
dealing with the three mines here. I don't want to talk about Matoush now.
Are you able to respect the veto of Indigenous peoples to say no to uranium mining on their territories? Are you able to do that, and have you ever done that? When people have spoken up and said no, have you ever respected that?
We are analyzing the safety of a proposed application. We have turned down application. We've said no to operation in nuclear, and it is based on the science of the application.
How did that science differ from the science that we heard this morning from the Sierra Club?
Excuse me, we are here to ask the question.
You're on my territory, and you're speaking to a Treaty 6 woman. I'm asking you a question, and I deserve to ask questions.
You can ask the question that relate to the safety of the application in front of us.
I'm asking what the difference is between the safety of the application in front of us and the Matoush.
The Matoush?
The ones that you rejected. Where is the difference? How bad does it have to get before you reject it? How many thousands of percents does the hard metals and radioactivity limits have to exceed before you say no?
We do not approve applications that don't abide by our regulatory safety limits. And it is not necessarily on mines, it's on nuclear activities, on radioactive. Maybe you can give an example, a quick example of particular rejection of particular or stoppage of activity of an order.
Sergeant, for the record, there are a couple of things. As has been mentioned, safety is paramount. So first of all, if an application comes in, it must meet all the requirements with respect to the safety standard and ensuring. Because our mandate is no minimal impact to the environment and no impact with respect to the health and safety of the workers, the environment, and the public. We have the powers as inspectors, and I've got my colleagues here who are project officers from the Saskatchewan office and right across Canada, CNSC, sorry, I gotta keep my mouth on the mic here. So, just gonna look this way. The CNSC issues orders, and the inspectors have the powers to shut down operations. So we did shut down operations from small facilities to large facilities. And in addition to shutting down the operations, the licensees will be brought before the commission in order to justify their qualification and why they need to continue to be licensed. That's one of the processes. And in this license renewal is the same processes where the applicant and us, the staff, will have to provide our data and factual information to the commission in order to render its decision. So the powers of the inspectors are very powerful, and it's based on the safety and the facts that are being presented before it.
Okay, somebody? Any other question? Mr. Taljesi? Dr. McNeil?
Going back a number of years, maybe you could go back to the AECB and Pickering as an example of what the commission, or the predecessor to this commission at least, ruled. That's a very strong ruling, that one.
Sorry, I need it's Ramjian for the record. Sorry, the precision on with respect to the ECB for the big. Sorry, I need some.
A little more. I believe under Agnes Bishop.
Yes. It's Ramjian for the record. As a matter of fact, there are a couple situations where the just a bit more detail. The ACB, the Atomic Energy Control Board, the predecessor of the CNSC, has rendered decision. As a matter of fact, shut down a whole. Just deviate, but a facility that was producing nuclear substance for medical purposes, and the fact that it was a mishandling of the situation in accordance to our act and regulation, the board at the time shut down and stopped the licensing process. With respect to the nuclear power plant facility itself, the information became available, and we staff came to the conclusion that certain parts of the operation was unsafe. And the board at the time, or the commission, did shut down the operations accordingly. Again, I got to respect the time factor here without going into details, but I'll be more than happy to share with the intervener any depth information she would like to know on the safety aspect of shutting down operation.
Anybody else? I'd like to ask you, you want to shut down the whole uranium mining because it's not needed, etc. What do you say to electricity generation in Ontario? 52% of electricity produced in Ontario, not to mention all the 400 nuclear power plants who are producing electricity, emission-free electricity. What do you say to them?
Are you trying to convince us of the moral feasibility of your industry based on the size of your industry?
I'm trying to understand what would you say to Ontario residents now that get electricity out of uranium?
Sure. Okay, so obviously we can talk about renewables then. This is just a question. Is there anybody here from the Commission who has a background, a scientific or technical background in renewable resources? Who can speak to? Okay, so nobody has a background in the science and technology of renewable. Now, does anybody on the commission have a background in oil and gas? What is your background is only in nuclear. Nobody's ever worked for different kinds of corporations or anything like that.
We all have different grades. We have a mining engineer. We have all kind of people here with all expertise. What is your question?
My question is why we're not having a discussion about renewable resources. Why there's no technical expert. If you guys are regulators and you're supposed to remain neutral, why not make it a fair debate?
We are nuclear regulators.
For the future. Okay, but so analyzing what other kinds of energy resources might be more effective should be an integral process. An integral part of this process. Obviously, we're looking at nuclear versus other things, and it's worth it to look at. So we're looking at nuclear or nothing, apparently, to you, but that is not representative of what's going on this planet. There are other options for us.
Absolutely. There are wind and there's solar and there's all kind of other, and there's government policy. Yeah. Where do you want to invest? So you should go to the government policy and make a presentation about doing wind and solar and other renewables.
Okay, so what you've expressed to me is that neither anybody on the commission, nor me, I'm just a student, but nobody on the commission has the technical capacity to talk about renewables.
We do it.
There's nobody here to explain it to us. How is anybody supposed to make a good decision?
I guess you're not listening.
Oh,
Our
I'm
mandate is nuclear only. We do not
Nuclear or
have
nothing.
any mandate to do trade-off between other alternatives. Okay, that's another policy matter.
No, this is interesting because I had this conversation as well when the commission was here before about the capacity of your commission. So what you're expressing to me is that you are very limited in your capacity. Now,
I guess
you can come back to my community
you should go back.
and express to me how we might work together to look at new energy sources.
You can start by reading our act. Thank you for your presentation.